What can you learn from the mindset and the wisdom of both farmers and pilots so that you can boldly and just create a beeline towards your dreams or golden life vision? Well, in today's episode, you're about to find out. Welcome to the Golden Life Podcast. My name is David Gilbert. I'm here to help you become the alchemist of your life so you can powerfully transform yourself, therefore your life, and create as much gold or discover as much gold along the way, because who doesn't want to discover more gold? At least I do. If you don't, maybe it's time to turn this off. But today I want to talk about the powerful dichotomy of both the mindset of a farmer and a pilot. And this is something that's near and dear to my own heart because I come from a family of both. And I'll share a little bit of my own story. It's funny. My grandpa on my dad's side of the family, Grandpa John, he was always wanting to become a pilot. And he grew up on a farm. And it was around the time of World War II where everybody got drafted. And he was like, this is my chance. So he went into the Air Force. And guess what? He got accepted to be a B-17 bomber pilot. He went through all the training. He was excited. He was living his dream. And as he was doing that, the day came when it was his turn to finally go out and become, in his idea, a real pilot by fighting the actual war, World War II. And he got, all this hard work paid off. He was living his dream. He was being the pilot of a B-17 bomber, and he had his crew and everything else, and some fun stories to share along the way. Like somebody in the back, the little gunner on the bottom, like the plane caught on fire and he just totally bailed out as they were taking off and jumping out. But that's a full story for another time. So he did it. He was living his dream and he was stepping into an amount of purpose, at least in my own experience. I don't know if a lot of us, other than people who go off to war, like really know that amount of purpose, right? To show up for your country like that. And he was just in the sweet spot. For him, circumstances was the day he was shipped out to war, to go to war as a pilot, was the day the war ended. So he came back and eventually came back to the farm. Now that's my dad's side of the family. The other side of the family is Grandpa Gordon. And Grandpa Gordon also grew up on a farm. And he also loved planes. Now, he got drafted as well during World War II, and he was looking at being a pilot. So he did the same thing. He was a little bit younger than my other grandpa, so he got in a little bit later, and he was going to work his way to become a fighter pilot. And he passed his tests, and he had the opportunity to become a fighter pilot, which to him sounded really nice, but it was this beautiful example of sometimes life will give you an invitation to see if you're really committed to that thing that lights you up on the inside. And it turns out for Grandpa Gordon, he actually loved being a farmer. So he went back to the farm. So my life is made of both these farmers. The Gilberts are all crop dusters, where my other grandpa is a farmer who just loves to fly. Well, used to love to fly. He flew until he was like 89 years old. This little breezy. Again, another story for another day. But you can see how one side of my family, Grandpa John, he went for his dream and life brought him back to the farm, which was beyond his circumstances. And the other one had an invitation, but found his true place back at the farm. Now, if you're like, oh, poor Grandpa John, well, he got to start a crop dusting business. So he made his dreams work while being able to do both. And that's what I want to start to instill to you, but also what I've learned from coming from a family of both farmers and pilots. And this is what helps me as I show up as a coach for others, a guide for others, as I really look to stay in the dichotomy and the balance of these two things, right? What am I talking about? Well, metaphorically speaking, farmers are grounded, like literally working in the ground all day, as grounded as it gets. And when it comes to creating your thrilling life vision, your golden life, well, then it's about being grounded in reality. We love to inflate reality to make ourselves feel better, or we love to not really deal with uncertainty to make ourselves feel better. So the more that we can be grounded into the present moment, as well as tend to the own crops of our own minds and soul, we can start to see and acknowledge like, oh, wow, there's been a lot of weeds growing. I've had a lot of negative thoughts popping up in my head, or a lot of limiting beliefs, or a lot of bad habits that are draining my energy and my focus and my motivation. Okay, what does the crop of my mind and soul need moving forward? Do I need more fertilizer, right? Do I need to nourish myself with healthy food and healthy relationships and a healthy mindset and get the sun more often, maybe literally, to physically be happier? And to acknowledge one of the hardest things about being a farmer is life is completely outside of your control. You can tend to your crops all day long and nail it for the majority of the year, and then all it takes is one flood to completely kill everything that you've been working so hard to grow, right? And this is a beautiful metaphor for life. And this is something our ancestors, including yours, have been navigating and working through like for generations. So we could just appreciate that is within your blood, right? To be able to navigate hard circumstances and to be able to push through and get to this place now where we don't even have to worry about growing our own food. I don't even know if you know how we grow our own food, because there's some people out there who don't. Hopefully you do. I'm guessing it's pretty educated people watching here, but if you don't, that's fine. Go watch a YouTube video. That's the beauty of today. When it comes to being a pilot, right? Pilots are the crazy ones who are willing to fight gravity to pursue ultimate freedom. Being in the sky and being free to go wherever you want, as well as pilots. In order to do that, you always have to be 2 steps ahead. I know I got my private pilot's license when I was young, because every man in my family has their private pilot's license or commercial. And one of the things when you go through training of being a pilot, that you have to prepare and be ahead of every move that you're about to make. Because if you ever sat in like a flight simulator, it's not like a car where you're like doing this thing. It's actually a very slow and graceful movement of how you use the yoke. And with that, you have to know exactly where you're going before you make that move, right? Or be looking at your instruments, which is another beautiful metaphor for life. Having that vision, that clear vision of where you're headed, or if you're in a phase in life where you don't know what the vision is, because maybe you're living your dreams right now and you're like, I'm just coasting. Well, what are those instruments? What are those daily practices that are going to keep you in alignment? This is how we can navigate life. So as you navigate life, and another thing pilots use is they always use a pre-flight checklist. It's a non-negotiable, because they know we're human. And you know before you take flight that you want to make sure everything's working properly before you go into the unknown of the sky and you're just up there. So how can you start to look at your life in a way like, what are the pre-flight checklists for my own life? Now, when it comes to coaching and helping people create their bold or golden life vision, this is where, once again, we want to have a clear and specific vision. What are you working towards? Because you know gravity is going to try to pull you down. What do I mean by gravity? Gravity is your own limiting patterns, right? We are these biological beings who are built to like go after pleasure or comfort versus pain or outside of our zone of comfort, which is AKA growth. So we're naturally going to fall back into comfort. We're naturally going to fall back into our own default patterns, as well as society is always going to try to pull you down as well, right? If you're in an environment that's full of people who are just okay with what they have, beautiful for them. But if you're somebody here like who's committed to your own self-mastery and transformation, well, you're going to realize that they might not want you to change to the rate that you want to change. And that's a story, that's an episode probably coming soon, how to deal with those people. So just know when it comes back to working against gravity, it is a daily battle. right? You got to have that mindset of a pilot. What do I need? What is the checklist for my own life that's going to keep me on the straight line towards where I'm headed? And think about those daily practices. Think about those people that keep you in that space, right? This is where the power of having a coach. I believe if you have a vision that you don't know if you're capable of creating on your own, well, that's when you hire a coach. That's the beauty. If there's anything out there, like check out Meta Performance Coaches, because they're going to be able to take you further than what you think you're capable of. And that's the beauty of having a coach. It's the same metaphor of when you go to the gym. What do you do when you're like learning new ways to work out? You hire a personal trainer. What happens when you want to max out your reps? You get help to get underneath the bar so you don't hurt yourself. Same with you if you're trying to fly an airplane into your bold vision that you've never created before and you have no idea how you're going to get there. Well, maybe you need somebody to teach you how to build up your airplane or use the airplane or assist you as your co-pilot to make sure you get there and you don't get distracted, because the winds will take you off course, the weather will take you off course, and there's all different other kinds of things in the game of life that's going to take you off course. And now bringing it back to the metaphor as the beautiful thing of having a coach when it comes to being a farmer of your own life. And what I mean is a coach, a powerful coach, is going to be able to help you see your blind spots. You're going to start to take notice. Where are you reaping? What are you sowing? And this is where we get grounded in reality. So really it's what are you sowing, and is that reaping the results you want? So you say you are committed to doing this thing and that you've been committed to showing up in that way, maybe with a loved one. And the results, if you were to go talk to that person, like a beautiful example is like maybe you have a wife, maybe you've been mowing the lawn and working really hard to make a lot of money. And you believe that by taking care of the house and providing everything for her, like that's a 10 out of 10 for her. Now, if you were to go ask her, hey babe, I'm curious, how connected and how do you feel like I'm showing up for you? And she's like, well, a 4. And you'd be like, what? Like I'm showing up in my perspective, I'm being the provider. I take care of the house, I mow the lawn, I do the things around the house. And she's like, no, I just want you to be there with me more. And you'd be like, oh, I had no idea. In my reality, I was showing up as a 10, but that's where our blind spots get in the way. If you were to ask and get the data, right? And the same goes with your business goals or professional goals or whatever it is you're trying to get out of life, that when you get grounded with the data, then you can realize if you're really working towards that vision or if you're just kind of throwing seeds all over the place and not really getting anything. So this is where you could be very intentional, first of all, about the seeds that you place, the goals that you create, or the relationships that you build, or the mindset that you're developing while getting the data. You know, if you've been doing affirmations for 2 years and that hasn't manifested the thing you're trying to manifest, well, the data is showing you're not sowing that life. So there's something else getting in the way. Maybe you've been growing a lot more weeds in your garden, wondering why this one plant hasn't turned into a huge, bountiful crop. So this is where having somebody who can check your blind spots, who can get you back on the path. And then I know for myself, it's easy to fall into the habits of just wanting to feel good, right? And I'm going to talk about in an episode soon, the power of commitment to get you to go create that vision. And we love to break our own commitments because we love to get pulled down by the force of gravity back into our old habits or back into our comfort zone. So this is where having somebody who can keep you in that dichotomy between the two, being the farmer and being the pilot, being the one grounded in reality that's consciously aware of the seeds they are sowing into the ground and seeing if that is reaping the bountiful crop that they want. And when it's not, readjusting and checking in with the environment to see what they could do to make that process better, as well as being the pilot, being somebody who's always 2 steps ahead in life, who's always creating conscious intention for what they want out of life, who has a vision of where they're going or who they're becoming, or the life that they want to live, and then knows how to navigate by following the instruments when things get really cloudy, as well as having your pre-flight checklist, having the things that keep you in alignment with who you want to become. Because if that's the name of the game, which in my perspective it is, who do you need to become in order to create the vision? And the vision is just a catalyst for your own growth. So we're playing the game of growth and discovery. Well, then just come back to what are the practices that are going to keep me in alignment. And that's something you can journal on, you can meditate on, or ask questions in the comments below. But I know that if you start to take on these two mindsets, being fully grounded in reality, as well as having that clear vision and knowing how you are getting in your own way to get there, and then continuously fighting gravity to get there, well, if you could do that, you are going to powerfully transform your life. And then lastly, I'll leave this little nugget that if you are looking to spiritually expand, become the biggest, powerful being of love and light that you're here to be, to share your gifts fully, well then know the tallest trees grow the deepest roots. And this is such a beautiful example. Maybe I'll go into deeper in another episode, but I just want to leave you with that. When it comes to your shadows, when it comes to what it means to be human, when it comes to all the things that we love to push away because it's scary or painful, the more you can ground into those and explore those safely, those parts of yourself, those unconscious parts of yourself, those unconscious fears, the things we like to have guilt or shame about being human, the more you could ground your roots into that, accept it, and pull the lessons, pull the gold out of that soil, the further high you're going to be able to grow, and the more light you're going to be able to gather, and the more bountiful fruits you will have to share with others. So don't be afraid of getting your feet dirty and your hands in the soil so that you can grow and expand into the powerful being you're here to be and share your gifts fully with the world. Lastly, I'll say if this episode sparks something in you, and you know somebody in your life who you want to keep accountable to, or you want to help or call in to help you and team up to fight gravity together so that you can stay on the vision of who you're becoming and that vision, that golden life vision that you're creating for yourself, well, share this episode with them, acknowledge them, tell them what you love about them or how they are helping you on the journey, and give them a request. How do you want them to continue to help you? Do that, and you will become a powerful being. Thank you, and stay golden.